In today's video, we're going to be taking a look here at the tropics where we do have Tropical Storm Felipe, as well as another tropical storm, well, now tropical depression that we need to talk about. We're also going to be taking a look at the overall tropics, although I will tell you there is not a whole lot to see, so we're going to glance right past that. And then we're going to get into the upcoming pattern that looks very interesting. We have a couple of major storm systems, especially out west and for the south. We're going to talk about those, and then the temperature pattern where we do expect to warm up through this upcoming week. However, a big time Arctic blast on the way for next weekend could really set us into some deep cold for this current October that we're now in. So happy October 1st, by the way, as well. Anyway, well, before we get into things, let's talk about Prestige weather real quickly. It's in the description and pinned comment down below. We do have our third winter forecast coming out there for early access very soon, and we also do consulting calls and other consulting services within there. It's only $5 a month, and it is again in the description and the pinned comment down below. Now let's get into things. As you can see, Tropical Storm Felipe now expected to become Hurricane Felipe by Thursday. We can see that this one is expected to take this northern turn that we've been talking about for a while now. And around midweek, Wednesday, Thursday, this one is going to intensify from a tropical storm up to hurricane status before taking a kind of easterly turn, missing Bermuda altogether. This one is certainly going to be a fish storm, it appears, which is very good news, but it is expected to upgrade to hurricane intensity, which is a big turn of events overall, to say the least. Let's take a look here at, well, I guess it is still, well, this was as of yesterday, actually. This is today. I'm all over the place here, guys. Sorry about that. Tropical Storm Rina still here, but it is expected to cross into post-tropical cyclone status as a depression. It is only at 40 miles per hour, so it's 1 mile per hour above tropical depression status. So this one is certainly on the way down to tropical depression strength before dissipating tomorrow morning, likely, or through the day tomorrow at some points. This will likely be our last update for Tropical Storm Rina. Now, again, we are going to glance at this overall tropics, but again, really nothing else happening besides these two systems. They were very close together, but as you can see, Felipe has taken a more southerly route, and Rina has taken that more northern turn over time, and now they've kind of separated over time. Let's take a look at this upcoming pattern, and by the time we're reaching this evening, I'll actually move us one further because this one is coming out a little bit late. We do have this low developing across the west. The stormy day, we do see snowfall there in the Sierra Nevada mountains, also some of the rocky high elevation mountains there seeing some snowfall. And outside of that, it's mostly rainfall, as you can see, for a lot of the low-lying areas. As we reach tomorrow afternoon, we can see it's still very quiet in the east. It's going to be a very pleasant weekend here and beginning to next week. We can see that we do have this storm still ongoing, bringing some pretty major snowfall to the top of the mountains there in Wyoming, Colorado, and Utah. Thankfully, not a lot of people live in these mountains, obviously, so this is going to mostly just affect very high elevation areas. Outside of that, again, the low-lying areas, it'll be mostly a rainfall event that will be a pretty persistent one, to say the least. We'll take a look at the total precipitation in a little bit. We do see a 997 millibar low pressure center developing there over southern Canada. That's going to be a pretty impactful system. We do have a secondary low down below. We see the warm front here, so this is going to be a lot of that surging warmth taking place as, again, we reach the kind of mid to late point of this upcoming week. And then we see this cold front swinging underneath. That is the main thing I want to talk about, that cold front that is underneath, because we see a lot of thunderstorms developing along this line for Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, South Dakota, Minnesota, and even bits of Iowa as well. So this is certainly going to be a far-stretching thunderstorm event for a lot of these areas. We see a lot of snowfall, again, still for the Rockies, and especially on this back end, because this is when we're going to see cold air really diving southward, again, behind this cold front. So that is the boundary where we see cold diving southward, and this allows for things to really cool down and allow this snowfall to develop for states like Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, Utah, and Colorado there. Again, still pretty exclusive for those high elevation areas. As we reach Wednesday time frame, we see that the low is developed further as a 987. We still have this cold front underneath, mostly featuring a lot of thunderstorm activity in the south. So for Oklahoma, Arkansas, Texas, and a little bit of Louisiana, perhaps, as we reach that evening for Wednesday. That's where we're going to be seeing a lot of that thunderstorm activity. Thursday the 5th here, what we see is this low now taking over. We have this one here, and still a little bit of a frontal boundary look here with probably, again, thunderstorm activity along that line. And we can really see this Arctic blast diving in now. So certainly a pretty impactful cooldown that we're going to see. And by Friday, it's certainly taking a dip very far south as the jet stream is now doing this. So a very dramatic dip in that jet stream, probably bringing the coldest air of the season so far for the upper Midwest and Great Lakes. Also featuring some rainfall, which is going to make it feel even colder and more dreary. So some very deep fall weather on the way for these areas. And by the time we reach Saturday here, what we see is this low is now over the southeast of Canada. We have a secondary low offshore of the northeast as well. Overall, a lot of storminess in this corner, so the northeast of the United States and kind of like the north central Great Lakes area. And still very cold air in the east by this point. We'll take a look at the temperatures in a minute, but definitely some deep cold is on the way. For Sunday, it's the same thing here. We see a lot of warmth surging out west, which is going to be indicative of that positive PNA that we talk about so much. So we'll dive into that in a minute, but this cooler air is still set up over the northeast overall. By Monday, what we see, it's pretty interesting, a lot slower for most of the United States, but we do see our next major storm system moving onshore to the west, probably flipping the pattern again as well with it, which is going to be interesting. Let's move this towards Tuesday. We can see that low kind of moves northward, and what this is going to do is it's going to cause things to quiet down a little bit here in the northwest of the United States. If this low, perhaps, it's all hypotheticals, right? But if it was to dive southward instead of going northward like it did, we would be seeing a lot more impacts in the United States from that one. Let's take a look at Wednesday, and we can see that we do have some low pressure developing now for the northwest as another storm system approaches. And things are going to be getting very active out west, it appears, according to this model. So snowfall, rainfall, and a lot of activity on the way there for the northwest overall. Total precipitation tells the same story. As you can see, a lot of above average activity here in the northwest corner. Same story here for the south central as we get a lot of thunderstorm activity. And then some areas near the US-Canada border throughout the north central and the northeastern United States are going to be experiencing similar conditions. The temperature pattern overall, here's that warm up we were talking about, and we see it start to move in already for tomorrow into the next day. So kind of Monday, Tuesday into midweek, Thursday, Friday, we see a lot of warmth here over the eastern states and eastern Canada with mostly a negative PNA look, this cold air mass over the west, causing this warmth to surge through the eastern regions of North America. But we already see some warmth building here along the northwest, and that's going to be the beginning of a positive PNA that's really going to take over in a big way by the weekend. We can see Saturday here, warmth prevailing, very strong positive PNA, and almost in an instant, this causes cold air to dive southward for the central and eastern states. This is right around the time where we have the low and then the cold front underneath, so we will see this spread eastward, as you can see, and that's by the time the cold front has completely passed through. This will be kind of Saturday, Sunday time frame, 7th, 8th. We see some pretty deep cold air here for most of the east, and the west, just a very strong and very healthy positive PNA that helps support this cold air in the east. Now, let's keep going, and we can see that cold lasts for quite a while, but what we start to see at the end of the model run is some cold creeping in for the west, which could indicate a pattern change, but really, I mean, we still, in the daytime temperatures, have a decent amount of warmth here, and we still also have a decent amount of cooler air along the east as well by midweek there for around October 11th. So this is going to be a pretty interesting pattern. Here's the long range pattern, and as you can see, we see cold build in just like we saw in that European ensemble model we took a look at a minute ago. But we can see for the 20th through the 27th, this model says there's still going to be some pretty deep cold air here in the east. So maybe seeing a continuation of what we're seeing in the near term. And then finally, we start to see some warmth building into the east, but not entirely. And that's all the way by November 8th to the 15th. So really a cooler pattern that could last through a majority of the fall is on the way if this CFS daily model is in fact correct. Very interesting. I can't wait to dive into this more and see what ends up happening. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Be sure to subscribe as we do upload every single day. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it. Leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.